Hello everyone, this is Metroid Nerd number 9001, and it's time for another hack release video. This one will be kinda similar to the last one, except hopefully I won't have any major audio issues where I lose the majority of my commentary. I'm gonna do my best to make sure that doesn't happen this time, but you'll notice that this is Super Metroid Pit of 100 Trials, but it's hard mode. I'm just going to clear one of these save files. If you've seen my previous release video, you may have noticed the autosave feature, which hopefully I won't need to use this time. I'm going to try and go through this somewhat quickly, but kind of highlight some of the major changes I made, because there's a lot of changes to go over. First room's still basically the same, but as soon as you enter the second room, it's pretty different. Enemies are moving a lot faster. Still morphin bombs. Not all the items are in the same place, but some of them are, because they're kind of essential. But, gasp! Zumos take 2 hits to kill, and what? Metal gamers, or whatever you want to call them? Yes. There's new enemy layouts, new enemy combinations in rooms. For the most part, rooms still require a pretty similar percentage of enemies that you need to kill to get to the next room. Some rooms have more enemies than prior, but even so, that's the kill percentages have been updated. But a lot of enemies take more hits to kill, and they deal more damage in some cases. Also, there's several level design changes to make navigation slightly more difficult. For instance, you have to wall jump in midair morph to get up here, and there's spikes. Don't worry, those aren't 60 damage spikes, that would be really mean. Those are 15 damage spikes, like the ones you see in Kraid's lair in vanilla. Those are combo blocks right below where Samus is. So you kind of have to do the little unmorph thing and be somewhat hasty and then fall correctly so you don't fall into the spikes. Just general changes, try and do more. I tried to do more than just adding a bunch of spikes into rooms to make things harder, like a lot of hard modes do. Or at least like a lot of bad half hacks. Like Super Metroid Impossible, except that one has like actually some decent design, although a lot of it is just putting spikes everywhere. Which I don't like. I haven't played Impossible and I don't really ever plan to. It just doesn't seem that fun. A lot more red gamers too, Samus colored Zoomers. Some people call them Zoomers, some people call them gamers. I don't technically know. This room is a pretty severe redesign. It's a lot more open than it was before. So there's a lot more tricky jumps you have to make. A lot more wall jumping. Gives the enemies a bit more room to move around. Some enemy drops have also been changed. And sometimes you just notice the differences more between vanilla and hard mode. This room has some pretty significant changes in just the way the platforms have worked around. And there's a lot more attack attacks, and you also noticed, hey, there's a key hunter in this room. There's not normally a key hunter in this room. Also, that path that was originally just for a missile pack is now almost required. That jump is kind of hard to make. So you have to go in here, but gasp! Missile pack isn't in here. Where could it be? In my most recent playthrough of this hack, I actually forgot where I put the missile and I just completely missed it. So I got 98%, but it's right in here. You can tell by the hint in the wall. If you're looking for it, it's pretty easy to find. A lot more enemies in this room too, some space pirates. One-hit kill space pirates are just too easy, so I just had to make them take... Why did I jump down here? I just had to make them take more hits, to make them more interesting. It's not excessive, but it's noticeable. Also combo blocks. That I am severely screwing up. Oh my. That was strange. You know there's a spacebar there because you can hear it, and you're like, where else could it possibly be? Strangely enough, like, the first 10 rooms of this hack are... Actually, probably the first 25 rooms of this hack are the ones that give me the most trouble, because you have so few upgrades. And you have so little health. So you have to be very, very careful when you're navigating around here. Because compared to how much HP you have, these enemies do a lot of damage. A lot of them will kill you in 10 hits, as opposed to like 5 or 20 hits in normal mode. Not every enemy has had their damage buffed, especially later on because of other things that I did. Most of them had their HP buffed, but not their damage, except for the beginning. I'll get more into that later. A lot of waivers in this room make it a lot more challenging with the whole ground covering the way that you have to go around the room. I don't have to kill all the enemies in these rooms, but I like to because it gives me more pickups, which is good to have because these rooms are challenging. But once, like, even I have trouble with some of these rooms. Like, I'll sometimes die on a playthrough of this hack, and it's my own hack. That's how you know it's kind of challenging. But it's kind of just a slow and steady navigation is what you have to do. You have to take a moment to reel in your surroundings and make sure you have a strategy to get through. I'm full on health, so I just kind of skip this area, except this side hopper just kind of jumps into you anyway. And room 10 is still the charge beam. It's still completely required, because otherwise you would die if you ran out of ammo on a boss, and I don't want that. Although you would probably still die if you're in that bad of a situation. Pseudo screw attack is probably still your best friend in this hack, especially at the beginning. It doesn't kill every enemy in one hit, but especially early on it kills most enemies in one hit. But you have to be pretty gutsy, and you can't let yourself get knocked out of your pseudo screw attack somehow, because some of these corridors are really tight, and it's a lot harder to pseudo screw attack enemies in situations like this. Or when an enemy's perched on top of a ledge, it's really hard to, because most of the time, it's kind of hard to keep your spin jump going when you wall jump, because if you're still holding the fire button, I believe, then you get out of the spin jump once you wall jump. Like so. Although there are a few ways to keep your spin jump. If you redirect your direction fast enough after you wall jump, then you keep your spin jump. Or I believe it's if you let go of the fire button. Yeah, if you let go of the fire button, then you keep your spin jump and you can keep pseudo screw attacking. Which is rather strange, but I guess it makes sense because this game doesn't have the other trick where you can fire straight from pseudo screw attack, like in Metroid Fusion. The other trick is really useful in Metroid Fusion, but I think they took it out for Zero Mission. I mean, either way, it's not nearly as useful in Zero Mission because the charge beam is way worse in Zero Mission. Like, here's a situation where you would want to let go of the fire button so that you can pseudo screw attack when wall jump up a ledge. That's actually really useful. I should have been doing that before. I guess if you know how to do that, you'll have a much easier time in these early rooms, but if you don't, then have fun. I have a decent amount of practice though, so these rooms aren't quite as deadly as they used to be, but I expect for a first-time player that they probably will be pretty deadly. Which is my goal, because this is hard mode, and it's supposed to be hard. Because what I found was a lot of people were having, a decent amount of people were having some trouble with normal mode. But there were some people who just kind of breezed through it, and it wasn't a challenge at all. So I want this to actually be a challenge for them. Bombs are also rather buffed in this version. A lot of enemies are weak to bombs. I also changed a decent amount of weaknesses. Although I'm taking a bit more damage now, so it's rather dangerous. But getting more missiles is good. I try to conserve ammo, because when you're full on ammo, you're more likely to get health drops. But if you're in a situation where you really need to, you can use ammos there to help. Now this is, like, I also just recently figured out this pretty clever use of charred bomb spread to kill some of the enemies in this room. I'm getting rather low on health. The problem with going for that missile so early is you get to the bottom of the room, and you still haven't killed all the enemies, so you have to go back up, which is somewhat challenging. It's because of the wall climbing space pirates and the Rios make things more challenging. But I like having these little split paths in some of the rooms. Like here, there's a split path where you can either go through a morph ball passage with some metal beamers, or you can fight a giant side hopper. Either way, both enemies will give you big healths when you kill them, which is good. I try to make harder enemies give better drops. I didn't hit that guy at all. This is, if you haven't figured out, a very combat-focused hack. One significant change in this part of the room is you actually have to fight this giant side hopper now, because I took out the wall that was blocking it that would let you kind of snipe it from afar. It does less damage than they do in vanilla, because you don't have suits and you only have one energy tank at this point. But now we're in Red Brinstar, and you'll notice immediately there's some rippers. And you're probably thinking, how do you kill rippers? Well, with bombs. Bombs are the answer to a lot of things in this hack. Because you can't kill them with the charge beam, but you kill them with bombs, and they give pretty decent drops. At least I think so. I think they have a decent chance of dropping big energy, and big energies are really valuable, especially early on. Because late in the game, I make sure, because you have so much energy, basically every enemy has to drop big energy. That's not a good situation to be in, where you're kind of trapped inside an enemy that you tried to pseudo screw attack, but another enemy beat you to it. This enemy's kind of not in that great of a spot. But as you can see, because I didn't have full missiles, I got a missile drop from that Rio. But I got a big health drop from the Ripper, which was very nice. Another use of charge bomb spread. Kill that Ripper quite handily. Regular charge beam still has its uses though. I don't know about Ripper. would be nice to get the energy, but you don't need to. Because if you know what you're doing, you can generally avoid damage. The wall climbing pirates, I didn't change their drop rates just because I didn't really feel like it, because it's like they're pretty rare enemies and they're kind of tough, so I'll just let them have a decent chance of dropping like big energies and stuff. Especially because they only appear in 2 rooms in this hack, and they don't appear at all in vanilla, so they're rather exotic enemies, I guess, if you would like to call them that. This shaft can be rather challenging in this area because there's lots of Rios that jump down at you and can be hard to deal with if you're not careful. Especially because they always take more hits to kill. And it's somewhat hard to aim at them, or at least it can be. This one was minorly changed, but the minor changes make a big difference. For example, you have to mid-air morph to get through there. And this shot block is also gone, which makes a big difference because the mini-crate spikes can go across the entire room in all 3 layers instead of just 1. Mini-crate is rather dangerous, but usually I just like to deal with him from below and pop him with several charge beam shots and eventually he'll die. This gives decent health drops, but not as good as in vanilla. But now you're starting to deal with some water. The missile is more powerful than the charge beam, so it's good to be able to use them if you're in a tight situation that you can use them well. And now we're seeing some enemies much earlier than you would usually expect to see them. And also this enemy has been severely buffed. It has a lot more health. It mostly has a lot more health, but I think it also does more damage. Actually, I don't think I buffed the damage. The middle platform in this missile area has also been buffed. By me. Of course, because I'm the one who made the hack. But this area of underwater navigation is basically the same. It's mostly just the enemies in this room that are a lot harder. Now this room I added a little fun surprise in. I don't know how many players know about the little shortcut here, but if you shoot there you can move through this area. However, there's a B-Tom hiding in there, waiting for you. So you kinda gotta be prepared, or it'll catch you by surprise and deal some damage and probably not kill you because it only does 10 damage, but very well could kill you. How did I kill 2 enemies with pseudo screw attack there? That's strange. Oh well. Maybe I just hit them both in the same frame. And super missiles. The super missiles can come in handy slightly earlier than usual though, because I have some more challenging enemies in this area. Also, ooh, the fog. I just absolutely adore this fog palette. And I also like sniping the Ripper with the charged bomb spread. It's really fun. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to get all the enemies to get covered by the same fog palette. So you can only really pick one set of palettes on enemies to get the palette, so you just kind of pick the one that goes over the most. Or at least the one that you think the palette changes look the best in. Sunk cost fallacy. At least with the wider open areas and horizontal areas, you can kind of avoid the Rios and 60 damage spikes now. This is where you actually start getting real 60 damage spikes, and it is quite dangerous. As is this, and I missed. Dang it. At least I got a super drop, so not as far behind as I could be. As you can probably see, I made it to the giant side hoppers, the one who's covered by the palette. So it's kind of the darkest appearing enemy in the room. This missile's unchanged. But it gives you a pretty stark contrast of the room with and without the fog, but also shows you that the space pirate doesn't change at all because of the palette change, because of the way palettes work in this game, which is kind of annoying. Because only one enemy can appear behind layer 3, which is the layer that the fog and water are on. I'm pretty low on health, but it's okay, because there's an energy tank right here. I originally kind of wanted to have a little trap where there would be crumble blocks down here, but I thought that was too mean, because it's really out of the blue. And there's another giant side hopper here. And it dropped a super, that's nice. So now I'm full on supers. To make this room more interesting, I added spikes, and I added rinkas. This room can be quite dangerous if you're very unsure of what you're doing. Because rinkas do a pretty considerable amount of damage, the spikes do a considerable amount of damage. I guess the Zeelas don't do that much damage, and you have to kill all the enemies in the room. And rinkas don't count as kills, because they are put in Metroid rooms. And if you could just skip the Metroids by killing the rinkas, that would be kind of anticlimactic. And also pitiful. Also, I'm pretty sure shooting these rocks reduces lag in Kraid's room, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't quote me on that. Kraid is the only boss in the game that I buffed the health of, because this is before some of the hack's other features come into play, where other things make the bosses more difficult than just HP. Kraid has a pretty significant amount of HP now. It's not unmanageable, but if you run out of ammo, it can be quite annoying. But that's why he has his claws that you can shoot. I like that his palette scales with the percent of his HP that's gone. So if his max HP is higher, it doesn't take until he's at like 90% of his HP is gone to go to this palette. It's still like normal 75%. I mean, I'm just making up numbers off the top of my head, but you know what I mean. And I'm not going to get that missile. Oh well, I can get the other pickups. Couple supers, couple missiles, and a full health refill. Time for the Varia suit. Except, gasp, the Varia suit is gone. Where could it possibly be? This is where the hack starts becoming even more tricky and distancing itself from some of the kind of tropey things that that the normal mode did. such as just having various food right after Kraid and all that kind of stuff. I throw a few twists and turns your way. Something unexpected. Unless you watched my stream with Metroid MST/Shy Guy Express, in which he gave me a suggestion for what to do to make this hack better, and I took it. And you'll see that exemplified a little bit more later in a couple rooms. Being at full health is also nice because it makes it easier to get ammo drops. So depending on what you're trying to refill will kind of determine what other thing you want to be full. See, right now I'm only missing supers, but also I'm only going to get super drops if an enemy can drop supers, which not as many enemies can drop supers, because supers are really good, so I kind of want to make them hard to get. Also a very minor change, but this much easier pickup to get in this room is just a missile, whereas this used to be an energy tank. Some of these space pirates are just dumb and they just don't realize that you're standing right in front of them, charging your beam, about to kill them. And then sometimes they notice you immediately and are incessantly firing out upon you in a rather annoying way. This energy tank is actually rather challenging. Watch me get it on the first try. But it's rather precise. And I got it basically on the first try. When I say first try, I mean without falling through this area. This. Because then you have to go around and back again. See, some of the space pirates just don't notice you. Another use for the kind of swing around pseudo screw attack is in multiple places in this room. Although it's a really niche skill that I don't really expect you to know, so there's other ways to get these space pirates. Space pirates take 3 bombs to kill, which is a pretty decent amount of bombs, but it's still pretty fast to kill them with bombs. Or like you can kill a Rio with a single bomb. And that's not just because I hit it once before, but it's just because a lot of enemies are weak to bombs. But also a lot of enemies are weak to pseudo-screw attack like Sizers. But Sizers are also weak to bombs. Dang it, I didn't get the waiver. That would have been cool if I had gotten the waiver with the bomb spread. But alas, 'tis not so. Ah! You can just kind of wall jump up here, but the crumble blocks make jumps slightly trickier. And also, Sizers do a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Get the yes, I can't get the health. That's good. Thank you. Excellent. This room is full of space pirates like it usually is, but there's some other things populating this room that there were not before. One interesting thing that you can do to toy around with space pirates and their placement to make them more difficult is putting them on different elevations compared to Samus. because if they're on a different elevation, it makes it harder to dodge their bullets. Because if they're one tile lower than you, you can't morph underneath their lasers. So you have to jump, which can lead to some very tight situations. For the sake of being slightly challenging / annoying, I made this energy tank way more out of the way. You just kind of have to bomb through a whole ton of random pipes that I mean, I just added these pipes in normal mode for like flashiness and to make the tiles more interesting, which I think it does a pretty good job of, but now I make them actually have some kind of use. Although they are respawning bomb blocks, which can be annoying. Maybe I should have changed that, but too late now because I'm releasing the hack today. I'm releasing hard mode today. I've already released version 1.1, and probably by the time this video actually goes up, version 1.2 hard mode will be out. What is this? This is the unused bang enemy. Well, it's very interesting because it absorbs all the damage that you deal to it and fires it back at you when it dies. Now, this is where hard mode gets pretty interesting. You can choose either Spazer or the Varia suit. I go with the Varia suit because I don't like dying. And because of another change I made to the gravity suit where the Varia suit still matters whether you have it on even after you get the gravity suit. Because normally when you get the gravity suit, it reduces your damage by 75% no matter what, which is supposed to be a 50% increase in defense, which is supposed to have the damage that you were already taking from the Varia suit. But the Varia suit doesn't actually matter in damage calculations once you have the gravity suit, except for Mother Brain's Hyper Beam, Rainbow Beam, whatever, I don't know. However, now, in this hack, if you skip the Varia suit and you get the gravity suit, your damage is only reduced by 50% instead of 75%. Tricky like that. I have a few tripper puzzles too, some enemy destructible blocks. Although you still most likely will have to wall jump up here, it's better to destroy the blocks with the tripper. Makes things easier. I don't think I really made that many structural changes to this room, except for the missile pack. Oh, and this. Some extra combo blocks for good measures. Because why not? Varia suit's already coming in handy. The B-toms are only doing 5 damage instead of 10. And the sizers are gonna only do 60 instead of 120. But you can plainly see that missile's in a slightly more hidden spot. Get this missile? Yes, I can. It always helps to be full ammo, because then you'll be getting more health. See, I got a super missile there because I was full on health and full on ammo. But you're not guaranteed to get a super missile, which is more likely because you won't. I just got 2 out of the 3 sizers that dropped supers, whereas basically none of them in the previous room, so I wasn't full on ammo and health gave me supers. So you can see how much of a difference that makes. But now I won't be getting that because I just took damage. I rarely notice the sound effects that the little bugs make when they land on the ground, but they do make sound effects. This room has more of the... Why am I forgetting what these things are called? The little floppy things. Either way, I like what I did with them. I made them just kind of narrowly perching on the water. So they're blocking the in-between motion of your jumps as opposed to always being where you are expecting to land. You can't kill those things directly with pseudo screw attack, but if you damage them a little bit ahead of time, then you can pseudo screw attack them. But also, pseudo screw attacking on these tight platforms can be difficult with fast moving enemies because you have to aim with your body, which is rather risky. But also here's more enemies being weak to bombs, if I can actually hit it. I hit it with 2 bombs, and then it goes down in 1 shot to the power beam. A very minor change in this part of the room, there's spikes down there, but also this platform is very ever so slightly lower, which means you have to wall jump underwater a single time to get to the missile. Very minor change, but it makes it ever so slightly more challenging to get that missile. Getting out is about the same difficulty. You have to do that slightly precise midair move. And now there's reflex in this room, which are always a joy. Although they don't really do much, they just kind of make it so you can't, or you just have to be more careful with where put all of your shots. That was a lot of lag. But according to Shy Guy Express, lag is a feature, so I guess this hack has a lot of good features. But I mean, it does have a lot of features. One of the issues with reflex in vanilla is that they will crash the game if you lay a bomb next to them and they explode, because they don't have good AI, but there's a patch that you can apply that will make it so that that doesn't happen, because that's really annoying for the game to just crash whenever you try and use a certain enemy. The faster the enemy is, especially with the metal gamers, the harder it is to lay a bomb to destroy them, which is also part of what makes them more difficult. Feel like dealing with that sizer. Ooh, a super. Super drops are good because they're rare. Can I get one from you? Nope. What about you? No. You take damage from going through a cargo, but you don't actually take damage. Now this is one of the places where you really probably want to use supers. But they have a pretty decent chance of dropping super missiles too, which is good. I significantly changed up the puzzle in this room. So now, there's this gate here that you have to unlock, but you have to free this fast ripper to break these enemy blocks so that you can hit the remote switch to let you get through the gate. And then that will allow you to get to this tripper to break through these blocks so that it can escape, so that you can use it to get to the top of the room. Or you could just IBJ, I guess. But who likes IBJing? I guess those who miss their jumps from trippers. Like I do sometimes. Both of the trippers move off screen, so you can just wait for it to come on screen. Like so, and then you jump off of it, and then you can get to the top of the room, do a little bit of platforming, and this is where my mic went out last time. So that was fun. So now you actually get to hear some of my commentary over these rooms. Although these fish are gonna take a little while to kill because I only have the power beam, I don't have Spazer. Oh, I guess you could just pop them with a super missile. Actually, hang on, I gotta do something. Okay, I'm back. Ah, fish. The fish have a decent chance of dropping super missiles, but it's not like fantastic. I guess don't count on them dropping supers. But they do drop other good pickups, which is rather nice. Like big health. Although I wouldn't really need the big health if I wasn't getting hit by them. The bottom of this room is pretty similar, just like some extra spikes, and then like this platforming section is pretty similar. But then it gets slightly more different later on. How did that hit? No idea. That was very strange, I guess. But you can just barely see the enemies by their glowing yellow eyes through the grass. This area is where it becomes a bit more different, and by a bit I mean completely different. Now you have some actual puzzles where you have to break some enemy blocks by freeing a boulder, letting it go down, and then it'll break the blocks for you. Then you have to make a tricky jump, where you have to wait for this platform to go down so you can make this jump without hitting the ceiling. And then there's more enemy blocks, and then there's a gate that you can't get to. So you're like, there's probably a switch somewhere, let's explore around. And then you make it to here, where you have to precisely spin jump off of the crumble blocks to get up here to this elevator that goes down, that allows you to hit, come on, the gate switch. And then you hear it go, and then you can actually go and activate the boulder and such. These boulders don't move off screen, so it makes them slightly more dangerous, but they don't move off screen because that makes this room really laggy. There's enough enemies in this room as it is. But either way, that gets you the high jump boots. And the high jump boots are pretty good, if I do say so myself, even though I'm not the one who made them, so it doesn't really make sense for me to say that. And then over in this section, you just get to have some fun wall jumping to get a missile. The real trouble is getting to the high jump boots, because that involves actual puzzles, unless you want an IBJ from right below it, which, if you're really good at IBJing, it might be actually faster to IBJ up there than to go through the entire puzzle. Someone will probably figure it out if anyone actually decides to speedrun this. Mr. Guy Average did speedrun, what is it? Oh yeah, just normal mode. The Pit of Winter Trials did any percent, but it's the only speedrun of this hack, at least as of right now. For now, we just get to marvel at the Eris effects. I like this room. It's slightly weird when you see the way the enemies move relative to the ground, but I mean, this room is mostly for the effects anyway, so it's fine. Yeah, I just think it looks really cool. Don't you agree? I mean, you might. Let me know in the comments. I still don't get very many comments on these videos. Well, that was a thing. Probably gonna out. Lots more dragons, just like more enemies in general. And here we have an interesting mixture of enemies. These red space pirates are a lot stronger than they were. They're very comparable, they're actually almost exactly comparable in strength to red pirates in Super Metroid Recovery, because they take 5 missiles to kill, like the red goers in most Super Metroid hacks, just Metroid. This area is also mostly the same, although there's a combo block. This is a combo block. But if you have the high jump boots, you don't even need to worry about it, and you can just kind of mosey on through the water without having to worry about any of the actual challenges. But that's assuming you get the high jump boots, which a lot of people don't get the high jump boots, I think. Or maybe a lot of people get the spring ball though, because there's the camera snap thing, or the camera kind of shows you that there's an area there and it makes it pretty obvious, which is, I'm fine with that, because spring ball's nice and it means that they get to go through my puzzle that I made for the spring ball, which I like. Here I'll prove to you that this is a combo block. If I can actually land on it. There we go. That's a combo block. So if you don't have high jump, you're gonna have to make a combo jump. But now we have more supers. I don't even need to use that platform because I can just jump up here because I have the high jump boots. Ah, screw it, I'll just super it. But of course, because you don't have to kill every enemy in every single room, you can skip the red pirates if you find them annoying. Or you can just hit him with a super missile. High jump also lets you just kind of skip to the end of the room. There's more enemies to kill, so might as well go do those. High jump really just kind of breaks this hack open, and I somehow pseudo screw attacked that pirate without getting hit. I mean, I guess that's possible. It's pretty tight. Also, you kind of hit your head on the ceiling if you have the high jump boots right there, which is kind of funny. There's a ceiling in the sky, so that you don't go off screen, because that would probably be bad. And grapple! Grapple's the same. But the way you have to use grapple is much more difficult. Yes, I can. Grapple's still pretty great because you can use it to get pickups from afar. And spikes are deadly. And supers are great. This area is mostly the same, just actually there's green key hunters, so it's slightly more difficult. You kind of have to watch out for those, but the atomics are weak to the bombs. And they get pretty decent drops, because they're kind of tough enemies. Also, key hunters are weak to bombs. Very, very weak to bombs. And so are the atomics, though not quite as weak to bombs. But still pretty weak to bombs, since they're usually pretty slow. If you can guide them in the right direction, you can usually beat them. And rather hidden reserve tank that also most people don't find. There used to be a camera snap right around here, but I removed it because camera snaps aren't good. Bombs coming in handy as usual. It's way easier to use bombs to kill enemies once you have Spring Ball, because then you can kind of jump out of the way and in situations like that. Otherwise, you can find yourself taking a lot of damage, although that's just if you're bad in general, I guess. Like I am sometimes. I'm sometimes pretty bad at my own hack. I'm not afraid to admit that. Slightly less simple grapple puzzle with some spikes, so you can't just wall jump as much. For a missile, because it's still pretty simple and it's not like you're going too far out of your way to get it. Pretty small room, but a lot more cramped now. And also more sparkles that are very... not that deadly, but they can be annoying. Hitting the main sparkle can be pretty annoying, but the ones that fall from the ceiling aren't as deadly. That jump can be very deadly if you don't know what you're doing, because the atomic will knock you out of your wall jumps if it's in the wrong spot. This room is almost the same, except for the sparkles, or the sparks, I guess. They're not really sparkles, although they are sparkly. They're meant to be sparks of electricity. And now the ship is dark. The ghosts also drop pretty good drops, although there's not really that many of them. I think there's actually only 2. One in this room and then one in room 49. Luckily these fish are pretty slow, so you can beat them with the power beam without too much difficulty. Although if you really want to, you can always just super them. There's just a lot more fish in this version, in this room. This room that didn't get changed too much. This room, however, did. Rather significantly, but also it's a very minor change, but it's a very impactful change. Because this water actually can affect you now, instead of just being there in the background. There are a couple of rooms that have really minor changes, like the water level being slightly different or some platforms going slightly into the water. Those minor changes can make a big difference in how people have to go about the room. This room no longer has a giant wall in the middle of it, so all the enemies get to attack you a little bit more directly. And also an instance of room where you have to kill all the enemies just because it's really small. And this is a room where you have to kill all the enemies, but that's because it's a pre-boss room. In pre-boss rooms, you always have to kill all the enemies, just because it's a pre-boss room. Bombs still come in handy a lot, though. Worms can be quite annoying, mostly because they're really small. I've lost a lot of health in this room. Of course, there are situations where you can just kind of snipe the enemies from afar. It's time for Fan 2. Now, because you've made it this far in the video, you're probably a pretty loyal viewer, and there's probably not very many of them. I'd say maybe like 5 tops. So, for being a loyal viewer, I'm going to let you in on a little secret about this fight in hard mode. And that secret is that super missiles are very good against Fan 2. Unlike in vanilla, where Fantoon goes on this like super rage mode type thing if you hit him with the super missile, now it just does nothing. And I did that just kind of as a cop-out way for me to have fun, and just like as a kind of an Easter egg, but also a strategy that's really something that most people wouldn't do. But it's like, it's useful, but it's like also... It kind of helps you get around the changes to his AI that I made. And I didn't technically change his AI, but I did the same thing I did in Recovery, where he takes a similar amount of... Or it's a similar thing to what I did with Recovery, where in this, he takes the requires the same number of hits to kill, but he has twice as much health, but he takes twice as much damage, so it takes the same number of missiles, for instance, to kill him. However, because he takes twice as much damage, the way his AI works, it takes a lot less damage for him to make himself disappear again. Now, if you can Doppler, that's not really a problem, but if you can't Doppler, then that becomes a real issue, because then you can't get nearly as much damage in per cycle. But with the help of super missiles, you can make up for it. So we're going to fight pretty quickly. And of course, the ship doesn't turn on because you're about to leave, and the scrolling has to fix so that you can actually go through this door without breaking the game. Gravity suit's still the same because I don't want to make people... I don't want to design Meridia to be navigable suitless, and 2, I don't want my players to have to go through suitless Meridia, just because that's mean. Because it's a whole 25 rooms of this game's janky underwater physics. And I'm not about that. I'm not about that meanness, I guess. Mock droids I'm perfectly okay with being mean about, though. Mock droids, I also did what I did with Recovery to make them more difficult, is that they deal damage twice as fast, instead of dealing twice as much damage. So it takes half as long of a mock droid being latched onto you for it to damage you. And it deals a pretty considerable amount of damage, and also you can't kill them with grapple anymore. Just because that's kind of cheap, because they have more health, so they deserve to be harder to kill, even by other means. You can still kill sizers with grapple, but not mock droids. Because I'm getting pretty good super drops, I'm more willing to use supers on enemies. Because I'm almost at full supers, and I've been using them throughout the room, so it's like, why not? This missile pack. There we go. I think you can do a wall jump into that, but it's better to just IBJ, that's what I always do. But it's just a missile, it's not too worrisome if you miss it, because a lot of people miss this one. Because I guess this isn't super obvious that this is something you could just walk through, except in hard mode I made it more obvious because I made a mock droid pop out of the wall, so you're like, huh, that seems suspicious. Very, very suspicious. Much suspicion. And more super missiles, because this one is pretty well hidden. Although a lot of people find this one too, I guess since there's like a pretty sizable area behind this, and it seems pretty suspicious too. But more supers is always good. Who doesn't want more super missiles? I know who doesn't want me to get more super missiles. These fish, when I murder them with the super missiles. Ha 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 ha. Supers generally make these rooms just way faster, especially if you don't have Spazer, because then you can kill the fish in a reasonable amount of time. I didn't buff the HP of the fish or anything, because of the fact that you very well may not have Spazer. So it's like, instead of making the enemies stronger, I made you weaker by forcing you to choose between getting more defense and dealing less damage, or getting more attack power and taking more damage. So it's kind of like P up, D down in Paper Mario. Or P down, not P down, D up. Actually, it is either P up, D down, or P down, D up. Do you want to be a glass cannon, or do you want to be a tank? And that's the choice I give you in room 30. Very spazzy worms. This puzzle is mostly the same. I think I made like a change to it, maybe. But you still get Spring Ball, and then you still get a missile for solving the puzzle. But you also still have this. I don't think I showed this in the first video, but you still have that as a way out if you run out of missiles and you can't solve the puzzle. Because you need missiles to be able to shoot the reflex. Because that does not work. Missiles work. Just some more Spring Ball puzzles, not too challenging. Just making sure that you know how things work, I guess. And you get the missile. And an easy way out. Especially since I killed enough enemies to get through the room, I can just leave now. And get into one of this hack's gigantic rooms. Other than the outdoor criteria ones, these are the biggest rooms in the hack. But I like them. I added a lot of flair, like a lot of different types of details and stuff. Also, there's somewhat non-linear rooms. You can go, there's multiple ways that you can navigate them. There we go. I kill these with... Oh, I can kill those with grapple. I forgot I didn't make them immune. That's good to know. Save some supers. Though grapple isn't as powerful as it was, it's still pretty powerful. It's mostly just you can't kill Metroids with it, which is what makes it less broken. But because of the higher HP of the pirates, it's also really good for dealing. It's really good to be able to deal with pirates easily with supers, so you can save your supers that you would use on the things and use them on pirates. Got this little alcove. The video hasn't gone up yet, but in Shy Guy Express's video of this hack when we were co-commentating, when he did his edits for the YouTube version, he made fun of the fact that I like the word alcove, and he just played me saying the word alcove on repeat for a little while and had it just like slowly get quieter. Just I guess because I said it a lot, so he's like, oh, I'm gonna make fun of that, which is, I guess it's kind of funny, but it's also like, okay. I mean, fine. I'm not gonna stop you, it's not my video. This is my video. Like, I make fun of myself enough in these videos. That's only for one enemy. Maybe I should have made there be multiple enemies there. But oh well. I should probably make sure I get to full... Dang it. I should try to get to full health soon, so that I can get more ammo, so I can be full on ammo, so when I actually need health drops, I can get the health drops. Almost there. Also, reserve tanks start full. And they also completely fill your reserve tanks when you get them. So right before you get an energy tank, it's actually good to... Right before you pick up a reserve tank, it's actually good to empty your reserve tanks into your energy, so that you get kind of free energy, like a refill from an energy tank. I'm pretty sure there should be enough enemies in this area for me to get through. They are now full on energy, so we should be just getting ammo. And what's this? Speed booster blocks. There's more of those than there usually are. Usually those are just at the upper criteria. Random missile pack there, just why not? Because there's nothing there normally. Worms! Fish and worms and bugs. Everything going on everywhere, every time, every now, every when. You don't need a where, you don't even need a when. That's how every it gets. Your words, bros. Pretty fun one. Now, for example, I have a full 100 energy in my reserve tanks. When I pick up this reserve tank, I have full energy. But now, I also have full reserve tanks. And now I don't have full energy because the bug decided to come from randomly off-screen and attack me. Also bang. But now it's time for another choice. Ice beam or a wave beam? I picked the ice beam, and I'll explain why. Because I made a lot of enemies in Norfair weak to the ice beam. Plus, when you combine it with a plasma beam, it actually shoots faster than most other beams. Plus, they do similar damage, and it's not like I really need to be able to shoot through walls. I mean, it would help me with killing these cack attacks, but it's not necessary. Because they don't really do that much damage. All they really do is interrupt your movement, which isn't too bad. These worms are more annoying. Falling out of the sky. You would probably consider it a problem if I'm calling things that I made annoying. But you know, this is hard mode. I can do what I want. Somewhat tricky jump if you don't have the spring ball. You have to do a really precise bomb jump across there, which I'll try to show off. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh well. Also, you fall all the way down here if you mess up. However, if you have high jump... Come on. Come on! Why am I failing at jumping? If you have high jump, you can just wall jump back up here. Oh well, I'm just gonna go. I've embarrassed myself enough. Another fun combination of things is that I've made it so that the Evas, instead of taking damage from the ice beam, are just immediately frozen. I think that's how they already were, but you use a combination of the ice beam and bombs to defeat them really easily. Because they only take 2 bombs to kill, despite the fact that they take 3 missiles. But you're only realistically going to get to bomb them if you freeze them, so it's as though they're weak. They're only weak when they're frozen to bombs, because most of the time you wouldn't really approach an Eva close enough to bomb it unless it was frozen. Also just kind of satisfying to bomb it and then watch it explode a whole ton more from the mini explosions that you caused. Lots of bugs too, kind of hidden in the vineage. I kind of try with this choice to make it so that you initially, if you pick the ice beam, you regret picking the ice beam because there's places where the wave beam is more useful. But then in Norfair, I make you regret not getting the ice beam because so many enemies in Norfair are weak to the ice beam. And then in the first choice, I guess I just make you regret picking either one because it's like you regret picking Spacer because he takes so much damage, but you regret picking Varia because it takes so long to defeat any enemies. So it's like each choice has a trade-off, and it sticks with you for the entire hack. And what's this? Power bomb blocks. But I don't have power bombs yet. What you probably wouldn't be able to tell, but I guess you can kind of infer, is that also I've kind of spoiled it already, but the blue pirates are the same as the red pirates. Which means that these blue pirates are weak to the ice beam in the same way that the red pirates are. Come on. They take significantly fewer hits. They only take about 10 hits with the ice beam as opposed to 5 missiles, which is a pretty major decrease in number of shots as opposed to how much ammo it takes to kill one. Because 5 missiles is a lot. Spring Ball makes dealing with Metroids a lot easier because you can move around a lot more easily when you're in the Morph Ball. Although if you're not careful, you can get hit by a lot of enemies too. Luckily, the waivers don't deal that much damage, so if you just get hit by waivers, it's not that big of a deal. I also noticed that in a lot of playthroughs, people miss this area, but not because they don't see it, but because they only see it after they've gone through the door. So by the time they notice it, it's too late. But luckily, it's only a missile. It's not too hard to get, just some tricky jumps, especially if you don't have high jump. There's nothing that you ever need high jump for, it's just high jump makes a lot of things a lot easier. And so does Spring Ball. And now it's time for lower, I guess it's just East Meridia? I don't know, I don't like this song that much. This door is slightly offset, as in it's slightly below normal, just so I could have that space pirate in a slightly more challenging position. This room also is kind of puzzly, especially if you don't have high jump, because you have to wall jump up here onto the platform. Come on, Metroid. Walk into the bombs. And then you let the platform take you down, and then you can jump. Here, you have to get up here and morph ball, and then wait for it to take you down. Or you can just wall jump. That works too. That's a fairly tricky wall jump if you don't have high jump to get around this side to get up to the other camo platform. Having ice beam and just bombs just makes these things so much easier. Normally you would have power bombs at this point, which makes this, not having power bombs makes this room a lot harder because of all the bomb blocks in your way. Also, there's dragons in the sand, which I find amusing. And also, just there's a lot of projectiles going on around everywhere. But this energy tank is still in the same spot. In fact, I think I didn't change this area at all, just because it's hard to get to anyway. Just finding this area is kind of enough for me to give you an energy tank. This room might change decently significantly. A general theme that I did when I was editing a lot of these rooms was taking any supplementary platforms and just kind of removing them. Like if there were kind of artificial looking bridges or platforms on the sides of walls that there were, I would just take them out. Force you to wall jump more, and force you to make more tricky jumps. Also, there's just a lot more spikes, but there used to be a bridge here, now there isn't. And there used to be a platform here, but now you have to jump out into the open. And only now, in room 70, do you finally get power bombs. This is normally where the wave beam is. And like in normal mode, I make you want to use power bombs immediately. Swarm of Metroids. But I don't want to use too many power bombs because of one particular change that I've made. Another secret I'll let you in on for making it this far into the video. By the time you're done watching this video, you'll know all the secrets of how to get around this hack really easily. Or at least more easily, because this hack is still hard. Intentionally so. Ooh, a power bomb. Those drops are pretty rare. These guys have a pretty good chance of dropping power bombs. Oh wait, I'm thinking about the wrong room. Hardest super in the game. Still super hard. Fitting, I guess. But if you have Spring Ball, it's not so bad. Making that wall jump with grapple is quite challenging. Ah, I wish I'd gone for that health. Oh well. Now is when you use power bombs, because these guys drop power bombs pretty frequently. Like so. And one right here for good measure. Just because there's a lot of enemies. And it kills all of them pretty handily. Oh yeah, I missed the one snail. Because it's a pre-boss room, so you have to kill all the enemies, and luckily this one just kind of gets stuck in an infinite loop. Ooh, a power bomb. The reason I'm so worried about power bombs here is because of Dragon. Now that sounds pretty weird, but the turrets have been blocked off. However, as you can see, turrets take damage from power bombs. So what you can do is just lay a few power bombs in the center of the room, and the turrets go by. Instead of having to use missiles, you use power bombs. And that makes Dragon a lot easier, but only if you know how to do that, and if you have enough power bombs. It only cost me all of my power bombs and all of my supers and like a third of my missiles. But most of my health I still have, so that's good. That means the ammo refilling should come much more easily. Like so. I'm already almost full on power bombs. Now this is normally where you get the ice beam. But now, just drops you straight into Norfair. And this is where you really get to see shine the enemies being weak to Ice Beam. Because these enemies have a lot more health, because they're typically pretty early Norfair enemies that you would just completely annihilate at this stage of the game. Because when you originally fight Novas, you're supposed to have no suits, no maybe Spazer. So I made them much more powerful, just to kind of bring them up to speed with where you are in the hack. Upgrade wise. Lots of enemies in this one. If you don't have wave beam, this pirate is a lot harder. Gotta shoot through the little hole. Yeah. Garudas. This room I also changed by just kind of removing the platform that you stand on normally, so that you can actually shoot the novas while you're still falling. But also, if I hadn't frozen that, I could have shown you that you fall slightly faster than the novas. So you have to position yourself in between them so you don't hit them on your way down. I've also removed the platforms here, so there's a lot more space that you don't have, or that the tripper has to go through. Let's hope that was enough enemies. But you take a significant amount of damage there if you're not really careful, because spikes still do they do 15 damage a hit, but you're gonna get hit a lot there if you're not very, very precise. And luckily that was barely enough, and I have enough supers to get the power bomb tank here, if I can actually bomb the ceiling. And the game doesn't crash. That's good. If you don't have enough supers, you just kind of can't get this power bomb, which, I mean, power bombs aren't quite as important, especially after this coming room, because you're going to get another upgrade. But it's still nice to have, I guess. Because now you have the choice between Plasma Beam and Screw Attack, and I'm choosing Plasma Beam because my beam is pitiful right now. I consider, in this situation, Plasma Beam is the more offense-based, and Screw Attack is the more defense-based weapon. So you don't want to choose the offense-based weapon on both sides, which would be Spacer and then Plasma. One, because Spacer cancels out... Spacer and Plasma are mutually exclusive. But two, you don't want to choose the defensive one both sides, because then you have Area and Screw Attack, which means you don't take very much damage, but also your strongest beam is either just the plain Wave Beam or the plain Ice Beam, and that's not good for Ridley at all. Also, here's a very minor tweak I made. The particles that move into the beam are both the right color this time, instead of being the wrong color on one side, like they were in Blue Star, or just in Vanilla in general, they're the wrong color. I don't know why. One of my beta testers fixed that for me. I would just like to give a special thanks to my beta testers. They put up with a lot, especially putting up with me not knowing ASM, and just kind of teaching me a lot about ASM. I mean, I'm taking a class on assembly now, but like, before then, I had no idea what I was doing, and they helped me do a lot that made this hack able to be what it is. So, yeah, they're great. Slowly refilling the missiles too. That's good. And, no wait. I swear I can do this. There we go, damage boost. Just because why not? I'm almost at full health, I can take it. And trap! It's a trap. Let's have a lot of quick thinking. I throw a lot at you that's really fast. If you had Screw Attack, this part would be a bit easier. But if you don't, you have to wait for the charge beam to be able to attack. More challenging positions for the space pirates to be in, so it's much harder to dodge their shots. Normally you have to go through this area, but now this Nova hints that this area can be passed through a hidden passage. And this room becomes significantly more challenging because of how tight everything is, and also Stokes. Stokes are fun. Normally this room is just challenging because of the puzzle of the fact that you have to use the charge beam to hit the front pirate, but it doesn't hit the back pirate, so it only hits one of the pirates while the other attacks you. And then you have to use the uncharged beam to attack the other one. But now it's in a tight space, which is good for screw attack, and it makes it harder to dodge everything, and then there's Stokes attacking the bottom, but they don't deal as much damage, and there's just a lot being thrown at you. But now it's low and overfair time. Time for red key hunters and the like, which go down pretty easily to the ice plasma beam, because it fires so quickly. Little missile tank hidden in here. Almost to maximum missiles. I believe I slowed down the acid in this room, so this room takes longer for the acid to drain out of. And also there's just some multi-violas just bouncing around. They don't deal much damage. They only deal like 12 or something. But it's enough, but it's mostly just the fact that they get in your way. That's the annoying part. Now we have the slightly fiercer looking blue dragons, but they're really the same as any other dragon. This room is also very laggy, and has key hunters coming from out of nowhere, which makes it quite dangerous, especially if you don't have the barrier suit, because then you're taking a lot more damage from all these enemies. But if you have the screw attack, it's not quite as bad, because then you can just screw attack through all the enemies instead of having to shoot at them. There's a lot of different combinations of ways that you can play through the attack, and I hope that y'all enjoy it when you play it. I also hope y'all play it, but I tried to make it enough different, there to be enough differences in it to differentiate it enough, just that it's its own experience, kind of. It's the same general idea as normal difficulty, but it's just a lot of more layers of depth instead of just spikes and harder enemies. That on repeat playthroughs, you can go through this hack in a very different way and have a very different experience depending on how you want to challenge yourself. Kind of like Super Metroid Decision, but more linear and all that stuff. And all that jazz. Now you may be wondering, what is this? If you've seen the video I posted on this before, you already know what it is. The video called How to Make Reserve Tanks Useful. So I'm very much so going to make reserve tanks very useful. Because... Beam Burst uses 10 reserve energy. And I know there's a reserve tank in room 92, so I can use as much as I want. blast through this room. Because I can just fill all of my health up like this. And all my reserve energy will be filled. I needed that. Because I'm taking a lot of damage. Another challenging space pirate position because you have to jump precisely, and then you have to wait for the platform to go down to be able to jump into the door. Also, did I miss a missile pack? I feel like I did. Where did I miss it? Also, another one of those minor changes to a room making a pretty big difference. This platform has been lowered, which means that at the acid's highest point, it hurts you, making you think twice about where you want to stand and how much you want to be jumping. You do not want to skip enemies in this room. Power bomb to make this slightly faster so I don't have to spend as much time in the acid. Because the acid also moves a lot faster in this room. And that opens this up slightly so I can get through more quickly to avoid the acid. To move very quickly. You can get through this pretty easily if you have the screw attack, which is another one of those trade-offs. This room is also a major trade-off because you can just plow through the space pirates and the walls if you have power bombs. But now you have to meticulously wait for each of these enemies, which makes the space pirates that stand just below where you are much more annoying. And also some space pirates just kind of climb on air. Gigas are also very weak to the ice beam. And I think I missed a missile pack somewhere, because there's one missile pack left in room 98, and I only have 90 missiles. Dang it. Where did I miss it this time? Luckily, the ninja pirates in this room are good for refilling, although I'm almost full on everything except health, and there's the energy tank in this room anyway. So yeah, I'm just getting health from this. In a way, the Rinkas can make this room easier, because you can just freeze them. And then you just kill the ninja pirate from off screen. And the final energy tank in the game. A nice last minute refill before the final boss. Because this is the last missile tank in the game. But I only have 95. Come on! I go through the entire hack for my release video and I miss an item. Great. Come on. Room 99 is still very challenging. But the high energy drops from the ninja pirates is very helpful. And you have to kill every enemy in this room, of course, because it's a pre-boss room. And if you're good enough at the room, you can go in with basically full health. For the boss, Ridley. He has the same amount of health, it's just the challenge is that one, you're probably pretty worn down from the room. You don't have as much ammo as you would in a normal playthrough of the game. The beam isn't as powerful. All that jazz. This is where Beam Burst comes in handy. Because basically now I'm just firing super missiles. Or I'm firing the Hyper Beam. This is actually stronger than the Hyper Beam. And Ridley's already dead. That was easy. That's because I planned ahead. What's this? An escape timer. With the speed booster. But 10 minutes is a long time. The escape was so much shorter in normal mode. What could possibly have changed? Oh no! The ceiling has collapsed! And and everything has collapsed. Now that there's timer, there's actually time pressure to get through everything pretty quickly. Although, it's a very generous timer, you don't need the whole 10 minutes unless you don't know how to do some of the speed booster puzzles that I'm going to make you do. Because of course, I'm going to make you do some speed booster and shine spot puzzles, because it's a timed escape. I haven't tested you on your speed booster skills yet, but it's the bit of 100 trials, so I might as well do that. For instance, here, you have to do a very minor shoulder charge to be able to get through those. And if you're good enough to get through this, you should be good enough to shoulder charge. You can't run in lava, so you have to wait for the lava to go down. Shine spark through there, and suddenly, we're back in Meridia. It's one of those escapes that takes you on a tour through the entire hack. But it's not excessively long. It's not like redesigned escape. But now all those speed booster blocks have an explanation. Blasting through everything. This way is blocked. Platforms have conveniently collapsed to make a pathway for you to speed boost through. But now there's a gaping hole in the ground, because this door is blocked. What's this? Speed booster there. This little thing right here serves as a marker for where you press the run button to optimally short charge enough to get to be able to mock ball. That was on accident, but it works. There isn't really a good marker for where to jump, I don't think. You just kind of have to know. You just kind of have to be able to figure it out. Shine spark, or just speed jump up there. Basic wall jump, a bunch of things have collapsed. And now we're in Red Windstar. Ever wondered why there was those speed booster blocks? Just so you can kind of blast through them. Also makes it easier to blast through this room. If you come here and do a New Game Plus run of this. Now we're in Pink Windstar. Even more things have collapsed. If you can short charge on that, one, it's very impressive, and two, you get a nice shortcut for this room. And I'll show you why. Because these are speed booster blocks. And these are speed booster blocks. And these are speed booster blocks. So you kind of just shine spark up the entire room. This room is collapsed a lot, so you kind of blast through a hole. Well, you're not the one blasting, but you go through blasted holes in large portions of this room to be able to navigate around, and you notice, oh, this area looks kind of suspicious. This wall was initially all curvy. Well, now there's speed booster blocks there, so you can shine spark here and make it through. Also, shine sparking deals no damage, because if it was, that would be kind of bad, because if you ran out of health, you would be completely incapable of escaping. More speed booster blocks there. And you can't get to the other side. But we can go backwards through where we were normally going to go in the escape. Start speed boosting here. And it's a pretty tight jump, especially without high jump, but it's doable. I don't think you have to short charge here. It's nice too. And then shine spark through here. Pow, 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 pow. This is just here so you don't shine spark across the entire room. I kept in the Easter egg over here. That's not what it is. this one with the little smiley face. Just because why not? And it's especially people are less likely to go to it because the escape is timed. And because I blocked them off here, they're much more likely to look here and see that this door is unlocked, so you get to go backwards through the heiress room. Now, you're on the other side of all the collapsed things, and you just kind of get to run through. Fun. All the way to the end. And it's raining, because why not? And that's it. I missed one missile. I forgot where it is. I don't know where it is. If I look back through the footage, I'll probably remember where it is. But let's see how the time turned out as the planet explodes. Mwahahaha. Crack, 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 crack. Quite the explosion. And just because Samus beat the Pit of 100 Trials. And there are no animals to be saved. The operation was completed successfully. Clear time, 1 hour and 40 minutes of in-game time. It's been closer to 2 hours here. But that's just the inaccuracies of in-game timing. You didn't see anything. Dear Force. And I get the best ending. Because it's a pretty short hack. And I didn't change the criteria for getting the different endings. %. You win. And that has been 98%. I'm not going to show off the other thing. I don't really want to. I just want to get this hack released. But oh well, that has been Pit of 100 Trials Hard Mode. I hope y'all enjoy, and I hope y'all check out the hack for yourself and see if you can beat it. This has been Metroid Nerd number 9001, and I'll see you later.